Hello, my name is Steinbach, and this is my oral comprehensive exam video. The following program was developed as a Wellness Passport program for the General Education Health classes at James Madison University. The Wellness Passport programs offer events and programs that fulfill up to 6 dimensions of wellness. Those dimensions are emotional, social, intellectual, environmental, spiritual, and occupational. The program I developed was titled Nonverbal Communication and fulfilled the dimensions of occupational, social, and intellectual. This program was held on Monday, February 4th at 6 p.m. in Memorial Room 3340. In addition to myself and my camera assistant, there were a total of 6 audience members attending this program. This audience was made up of 5 G-Health 100 students and 1 AHRD student. Preceding the beginning of this clip, I introduced myself in the program session, facilitated an icebreaker activity which stressed the power of nonverbal communication, administered a pretest to assess prior knowledge of participants, reviewed the program objectives, and began sharing content on the voluntary nonverbals, where this clip picks up.
Then I moved it over to the side so that way it wasn't in your line of vision and it's not distracting. Some other voluntary is facial expressions, making eye contact with people, smiling, putting off happy vibes so people are interested in what you're saying. Also gestures, exaggerated gestures. Say you're speaking in an auditorium and there are people way in the back, your gestures are going to be bigger so people can read those nonverbals, otherwise it'll just get lost in the scene. It'll just be a tiny little speck and all they can hear are the verbals. Going on with the gestures is body language. Slouching is a big thing, just in general. So when you are giving any kind of presentation or any kind of pitch, you want to make sure that you're standing straight. You've heard the string coming out the top of your head. You want to put off that element of just put togetherness. And body movement, intentional, deliberate. These anchor points, say you're giving some kind of persuasive speech with each different point. You were to start here, and when you move on to the next one, it helps to move to a different area so the audience knows that there's a separation between the two, and that really helps to keep people's interest and to help give them organization in their mind while they're interpreting your message. Clothing is a big one. This is Steve Jobs here, so he's got his signature black sweatshirt, jeans, and his black sneakers. That works for him. He works at Apple. That works for him. But you need to read your audience. So say you're giving it to the CEO of a company, you're probably going to be a little more dressed up if it's more like Wall Street versus Google. So it's very important to read your audience so that you can select the correct nonverbals to make sure that that image or that message gets across to them for each situation. Here's Steve Jobs, that worked for him for his entire career, so he didn't really need to read his audience, because once you did, you can pretty much do whatever you want. So now, opposite of the voluntary are the involuntary. And if you make these involuntary nonverbals unconsciously, and they go against what you're saying, again, people are going to go with the visuals, and you could be giving the best message in the world, but they're just going to take what they perceive. Very important to be aware of the involuntary ones. For an example, say this guy comes in and he's giving a presentation, he's giving a speech to a large group. He could be excited about it, but if he comes up there, he's yawning, he's kind of like nonchalantly checking his clock, doesn't really exude excitement for it, that's what the audience is going to get. That could be his favorite city in the world, but the audience is going to think that he's not interested and maybe he's just obligated to do it, so that's going to take away from the message. So the same as voluntary are facial expressions, and say yawning. Yawning is kind of uncontrollable, but you need to be aware of it because it does carry such great weight. Frowning, raised eyebrows, wincing, just not being aware of your face does so much. So just make sure that you just kind of get a read for your own face. And gestures, fidgeting, scratching, bringing note cards, bringing hands, playing with your hair, For guys, putting hands in your pockets. Those are all like nervous or uninterested gestures that really send a message. And then the same with the slouching on the other side is leaning on the podium. That might just be you trying to be comfortable with the audience, but depending on the situation, again, it could just say that you're not interested and you're not invested. Body movement, random and distracting. A lot of people talk with their hands, and if you're not very conscious about that, people are just going to be watching your hands. So once you get into like the practice of it, just finding those anchor points for your hands will be very useful. And then clothing on the other side, if your shirt's wrinkled, if you got a stain and you weren't able to change before your presentation, no matter what your message is, that's what the audience is going to see and it's going to impact them. So to sum up the two differences, sometimes involuntary communication can give a message we didn't intend to deliver. Our audience might see us as distracted or speaking out both sides of the mouth, not interested, and worse. Did we have any questions about the differences between the involuntary and the voluntary? And there's a lot of them are similar on both sides. No? Yes.
What does speaking out of both sides of your mouth mean?
So, kind of in the way, if I'm saying, guys, I really am so excited to be here. I love your town. It's so beautiful. It's the contradictory. Like if you're saying one thing, but your body is saying a different, speaking out of both sides of the mouth is just essentially not lying, but not the truth. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do to make sure that we know the difference between these is observe. It's called observing nonverbal blunders. While I was giving that speech, I did a few of those. I probably did more than I think. So I want you guys to tell me if you noticed any of the ones that we went over, any other ones that you might be aware of that I did.
You meant like this?
Yeah. Probably. You're doing my hair. That's why I try to put it back because is that voluntary or involuntary?
Involuntary. I do that too. Like in GCOM, that's what the teacher always told me.
Yeah. So definitely play with my hair. Any voluntary ones you think I've done?
Or that eye contact so that shows that you're like involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making sure that you make eye contact with people around the corners of the room. Say it's a large group, you can't really make contact with like 100 different people. Kind of making rounds around the room helps establish those contact points. So with you guys, it's a little easier because I can see all of you.
Mm-hmm.
You dress for speaking. You dress nice for talk.
Thanks.
Your hand gestures, like when we were talking about like sticking points, you were like going like this to like emphasize that.
Mm-hmm. Agreement of gestures versus the content. Good. What about, did they do any hand gestures, distracting ones at all? I feel like I did. That's good, if you guys don't think so.
Mm-mm.
But I feel like, I do this thing, which I think is good. I graduated from playing with my hair, but my hands will come here. So to me, because I've replaced it, I still feel like that is. But if it's not distracting, that's great.
I didn't notice that at all, actually.
Good. These are all good examples. Is there any, there's no way there's no other involuntary. Great. Maybe right. So that's good. So, a couple other ones that are really characteristic. I used to work at the speech center here, the communication center. A lot of JMU girls, and I'm sure it's more than just JMU, but if you're in heels, crossing the legs, I know I did that at least once, is a big thing, which is the equivalent to like swaying. So, try not to do that so much, but swaying's a big one, especially if you're getting into like a rhythm with your speaking. And a lot of people will anchor, but they'll anchor cross. So that's, again, trying to find your balance. And like anchor points are good with your points, like your points in your content you're doing, but also to make sure that you are established. So that's something, again, that will just come with practicing it and feeling and being aware of what your natural involuntary is. Good. No, I said verbal fillers are a big one. Like, are very popular ones as well. But also just getting into, the more you know your content, the less of those fillers that will come through, because you'll be able to stop consciously instead of using that default or like. Posture, we went over swaying, hands in pockets, touching the hair. If you have note cards, that's a big one to watch out for, because they're just there and they're just ready for you to destroy them. And proximal blunders, see, I put the podium behind here, so that way it's not even temptation. And that'll take away a lot of other issues like leaning or swaying or bad posture. And not moving around the room with different points is another one, because that really does help your audience. And then verbal mechanics can also be a nonverbal, speaking too fast, speaking too slow, just kind of feeling it out. If it's more conversational, if it's more formal, that's something that is situational as well. So for activity 2, what we're going to do is have you guys come up here, and I've bunched up a couple little topics. They're super simple topics, like JMU, like things that are very easy, because what we want to focus on right now is not the actual content, but while you guys are just talking to us, kind of monitoring to see what your body does. And we're going to also watch you, and then we're going to compare to see, what things do you realize you're doing versus the involuntary ones that come out without you noticing. So what we're going to do is pick a topic, just kind of take a couple seconds, think about 2 or 3 points, and or you can just start talking, and we'll do it for like 30 seconds and see what comes out. Okay. Do you guys want to do it like volunteer, or do you just want to go in order? Does anyone not feel comfortable doing this? No? You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay. So, is it Carly?
Yeah. Can someone else go first? I'll go first.
Okay. And you can just move over here, that way it won't get too. Yeah, or just 2 of the same.
Oh,
ones.
okay.
So whenever you're ready, you can just go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so my topic was purple. Not really sure what to say about that, other than it's one of the JMU colors, and I love JMU. She's wearing a purple sweater over here. Purple was my favorite color when I was little, but no, it's not. That's it.
Thank you. All right, so yeah, if you want to. Okay. So what did you notice any that you were doing?
Yeah, I said a lot. Probably because I didn't really know what to say about purple. but-
Right. Well, yeah, and that's again, the more you know your topic, the more you're prepared, the less of those are going to come out.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected. Did you guys see any others? Notice anything?
You actually made pretty good eye contact though. Like you kept I could see you looking around. Good.
I was looking for something that's purple.
Yeah. And also, every time you had a point, you presented it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So I think that's good. It wasn't distracting in a
Yeah.
negative way. And you did make contact with your content, so that's good.
I can go if you want to go.
my topic was telling you guys about myself, so I'll tell you something I was going to say, but since I'm telling you about myself, I'll just say it. I'm sick, so that's why I sound like this. I'm 20 years old, I'm a sophomore at JMU, and I study hospitality here, and I love JMU, and I'm here for Health and Wellness Festival. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So, what did you know about yourself?
I use my hands a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hand on.
I'm probably not loud because I can't hear myself
Music.
talk.
Anything, guys? Pretty good. Pretty good. Good hand gestures.
Good posture.
Yeah. Before you, like, while you were thinking, like, you kept talking, but you just got, like, slow, and then, like, you kind of, like, worked your way into it. It wasn't, like, bad, I just, like,
No, that's
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it didn't have those and.
No, yeah, which
Yeah.
is good. It's a different way to fill the space.
Good.
So I couldn't say more.